I want to bring up another point, which is about Jamal Musiala. As you know, and I've gotten criticism from some Bayern fans for this when I said, how do you combine Musiala and Thomas Muller into the team and post Nagelsmann? Obviously, the first few games back, Musiala was supposedly coming off the injury, so he only played a little bit. At the weekend, they switched to a 4-1-4-1, no Goretzka. Okay, you can do that because you know Freiburg are going to go and pack the box and park the whole public transportation system in front of the goal. So you can have Musiala and Muller there alongside each other. Ultimately, though, you have to make a choice. And was it, I don't want to say brave, but of Tuchel, and Tuchel's pretty unemotional when it comes to this sort of thing, right? Muller's unhappiness with Nagelsmann may be part of the reason why Thomas Tuchel has this job. Mm-hmm. But now that he has the job, he's not going to necessarily cater to Thomas Muller. So if the base lineup, it's unthinkable to play 4-1-4-1 against City away. So the base lineup doesn't have Thomas Muller in it because either you play him at center forward or on the wing, and you've got other guys who play there, right? That all makes sense, yeah?
Yeah, I thought it made sense not to have him there. We will never know what would have happened if he started ahead of Gnabry as a false 9, for example, or as a 9, or instead of Musiala, for example, behind Gnabry. We will never know, but I just thought for what Tuchel wanted to do in the game, and again, to beat the City press, use Musiala as...
You have to use Musiala.
Exactly, to receive the ball from De Ligt and Upamecano, which they did well until City changed slightly what they were doing. It worked. Musiala is an incredible player, technically much better than Thomas Muller. Thomas Muller has many other qualities that Musiala doesn't have for now, but technically I thought it worked, even if in the end I felt a little bit like I wanted more from Musiala in the game. I thought Stones did a great job on him, to be honest, and I thought overall the City, the four centre backs who were either back 4 or 3, and Stones a bit more stepping up in midfield, were outstanding 1v1 pretty much all of them through the whole game. It was really, really impressive. But yeah, but you know what I liked? When De Ligt was on the floor for like an injury and he came back on, but Tuchel asked Muller and Tuchel were talking, like, okay, if he's injured, what do we do? Who do you bring on? Stanisic? Do you move Pavard centre back? What do you do, kind of thing. So I think Muller will still be involved, but on the pitch, you have to say that if you have to pick between him and Musiala, I would go Musiala all the time, pretty much.
What about Muller as center forward? Because I want to introduce... Oh, sorry, before I get to that, you mentioned John Stones. Barnsley, Busquets, yeah. We're on board with that?
I mean, yeah, to an extent.
Some mouthwash, please, before you mention Busquets and Stones.
And Barnsley.
At this stage. And Barnsley, all in the same... Actually, is there... Well, whatever. I don't want to go there. But, so we mentioned the Thomas Muller thing, and personally, I think Muller can have a role in this team as a center forward. I understand why he went for Gnabry in this game, because obviously he gives you the pace, and you don't know that when you're going to the game, you don't know that you're going to have most of the possession, right? So obviously Gnabry's got a lot more verticality than Muller does. I get it. But it brings up the question of the center forward.
Yeah.
And Lewandowski leaves. Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting's done a fantastic job this season, but obviously he is what he is.
And he was injured for the game.
And obviously he was unavailable for this game. You feel that they should have put the resources into a viable center forward?
Yeah, and Salihamidzic the other day said, in the summer we will sign a striker. So, I mean, Nagelsmann was happy for Lewandowski to go, and he wanted to go with his 4-2-2-2 formation where you maybe didn't really need a proper centre forward. I think very quickly he and everybody realised that you needed one anyway. So, okay, you had Choupo there and he did a great job, as you said, probably beyond expectations even.
Well beyond expectations.
On the goals he scored and how good he was in certain games, no problem. At this level, I think Choupo, like at the level of the quarterfinal against this City team, Choupo would have struggled as well had he been fit anyway. So I don't understand why now you're thinking, okay, this summer now we're going to go and sign a striker, and why didn't you do it last summer? I
mean, I would imagine the plan was, and I don't think it was a bad plan. You had Sadio Mane. A fit Sadio Mane from the start of the season, I know they played him there a few times. It didn't quite work out. But Mane is your center forward. You know, I think that would have been one of the options, maybe the most viable option, because he's the best goal scorer out of the
But it's
group
a
of
default.
wingers.
It's an option by default, right? Surely you can't plan the whole season and hoping to win a treble with thinking, yeah, Mane could be a 35 goal a season striker, because that's not going to happen.
Well, why is it not going to happen?
Because he can play there and do a good job, and we saw with Liverpool at times him playing centrally, doing a good job. But this is not one. It's not his best position, so you would take him away from his best position, which is clearly as a left winger.
But you have Leroy Sané, and you have Gnabry, and you have Kingsley Coman. So you've got three people who can play in wide position.
True, but his best position is still there.
Well, that's fine. But then unless you play one of those other guys up front, which you end up doing with Gnabry, you know, you're still going to have that issue.
True, but that's what I mean. You can't guarantee you 35 goals as a centre forward.
Nobody guarantees you 30.
Some strikers do.
But I don't think, again, and this is where I may be in the minority here, but I don't think you need a 35 goal a season centre forward. I think what matters is the amount of goals and the amount of chances your team creates as a whole. So if the team creates, it's not like, you know, if Holland scores 2 goals, you get extra bonus points as opposed to City.
They create loads. And I just don't think and we saw that again against Freiburg, for example.
Yeah. And they score loads. Against Freiburg, that was a good example where, you know, with had Lewandowski still been there, they might have scored 5 against Freiburg at the weekend, right? So obviously there's a difference there. But, you know, rather than going and spending money on a centre forward last season who might have been sort of a plan B, and you have 4 big name expensive wingers, plus you have Thomas Muller.
Yeah, no, I see.
I don't see this thing. I can
the
see
fact that
why
they're going to buy
Nagelsmann was
one
okay with
this
it.
summer coming is because they realized their mistakes from last summer.
I think to some degree it's because they're also reacting to media and perception, and Matthijs Tel hasn't turned into the next big thing. And
I know, he's 17.
He's 17, right? But remember, one of the reasons Nagelsmann went was supposedly didn't give Tel enough playing time, even though he made like 20 odd appearances. But whatever. No, I get that. But then you're stuck into the thing. Do I get a functional center forward? Or do I get an A-list center forward? Do I and chuck money into that position? Yeah. And if I do that, do I have to sacrifice somebody, you know, to make it work out financially? Because remember, there's a lot of money going Nagelsmann's way,
for sure,
and Tuchel's way.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This whole thing, I think we get a little too fixated on the center forward. I think it could have worked. I think frankly with Tuchel, it can work. And it'll be interesting to see how he does it. I like the Muller up front option, especially maybe not in big games, but against most teams. You're going to have all the possession. I'd rather have the big experienced guy in the box wreaking havoc and creating space. For me, the most important thing is Musiala's fit. Musiala can make the lick. This is the hub of your team. This is your spine. This is it going forward. And those guys have to always play. And other people adapt around them, as I see it.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.